Well, good morning and welcome to another installation of Black Prosperity with the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust. I am your host, Executive Director, Bill Diggs. I'm excited today, as I am every week, I'll be honest with you. I think we've been really fortunate to have good guests to talk about things that are affecting Miami-Dade's community at large, and then also Miami-Dade's Black community. Because as you know, the goal of our organization is to improve the economic participation of Blacks in Miami-Dade County, and we're always pleased to do that. Just came back from Chicago, Illinois. Had a great trip there with the folk from Career Source, South Florida, the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, and our good friends at the Beacon Council. The first of its kind ever. We actually had the opportunity to go to Chicago to recruit Black businesses. As you know, the goal of the Beacon Council, of course, as the official development organization for Miami-Dade County, is to recruit and retain businesses to help to make sure that our economy continues to grow at the rapid pace that it is and to sustain itself. So economic development is at the forefront of what we do, and our organization has been through its own growth and changes, and we're excited to have this morning with us Ms. Jaquelene Davis, who is the head of economic development for MD. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Diggs.
And I've been telling you since you and I've known each other to call me Bill, that Mr. Diggs resides in Augusta, Georgia.
I know.
He's alive and kicking. Well, listen, so let's get into it. I mean, Jackie, how long have you been with the county now?
I've been with the county for 20 years.
20 years, wow. And during that time, you've done a variety of things. Tell me about your background before we get into what you're doing for us.
Well, I originally started with the Department of Transportation and Public Works, and I actually was an administrative secretary.
Okay.
So I was over the budget. I did a lot of procurement, human resources, and then I had the opportunity to join internal services as an administrative officer too, and fleet management, where I also was over the budget.
Okay.
So after that, I got into the economic development portion when I joined small business development under Gary Hartfield.
Right.
So that gave me the opportunity to do a lot of contract reviews for small businesses, and it gave me my passion and said I want to do something in economic development.
Yeah. It's interesting because, Gary and I, as you know, are friends. And you guys for a long time have small business was a division of ISD and internal services, right?
Right.
And so, when Gary and I talked, I said, hey, I want to recruit one of your employees. He frowned and he smiled because he realized that you were ready for, the next opportunity. And one of the things I always tell people is this, I said, none of us can stand in the way of people attempting to take care of their families and be successful. And of course, Gary feels the same way that I do. But I think it's important because what you've brought to our agency is something that, to be honest with you, a cat like me needed, right? Because I'm an outsider. I mean, I came from private industry, and I got to tell you, boy, navigating through the county is more than a notion, right?
More than a notion with all these processes.
Yeah, there's so many of them, and it's wild because the processes that are there, you don't know about them until you run afoul of them. Then someone says, well, why don't you do so-and-so? I'm like, well, what is that? You begin to learn and you understand. And so a large part of, I think, what we do is we push the envelope every day, and I think at the forefront of the envelope pushing is economic development for us, right? So I want to talk to you a little bit about your department, what you and Ms. Bird do on a daily basis. And then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of some of these grants, and then we'll talk about kind of where we want to go. So tell me about, and there's some pictures that are coming up on the screen with you and LaToya. Tell me about what you do. Tell me what you guys are up to.
Well, right now we're meeting with a lot of community partners, and we're trying to navigate the system to see how many resources we can give our small businesses. Because not only do we want to give them grants, we want to give them some support, some business support. And we know that a lot of the businesses are lacking that. They need a lot of back office support. They need to know how to run the business and how to spend this grant money so that they can sustain. Yeah. So that's our goal right now. So we're thinking of creative ways that we can help our small businesses, our Black small businesses in Miami-Dade County.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I got to tell you, there's a couple words that I hate. Mom and pop business is one, and micro businesses is another. It's like everyone has these designations and these terms and titles that don't always fit at the national level, right? So the federal government describes a small business anyone making almost under $5 million a year. In Miami, we describe small businesses very different than that. But yet, there is what's the budget of the county? $14 billion?
About $14 billion.
Right? I mean, it's larger than like over 10 states, right?
Right.
And so when you take a look at that amount of economic opportunity, we've got a big job to do to get our businesses ready to learn how to scale. A lot of them are afraid to do that. Why do you think that is?
I think they're afraid to see where their potential can really take them. There are a lot of opportunities out there for these businesses, and there are a lot of resources. And the more that we talk to these businesses, we realize that they don't know that these opportunities are out there. So we want to get that to them, to let them know, even if we have to visit the business and sit down with them one-on-one, to let them know that there are resources and we're here to guide them, to help them, and show them that they can scale their business to be something great.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think the other problem is, though, that so many of them will use their businesses, buy a car, pay a house note. They don't really think about reinvesting back into their environment, right? With the sense that if they reinvest back into their business, they're going to spend a tremendous amount of time helping the business to grow. It's kind of like you can't take every dime you have and call it profit. Some of it has to be monies that are built to be able to take your business to the next level. You got to reinvest. Are you seeing a change in that at all? Are you seeing something that allows for businesses to utilize some of their revenue for growth?
I do see that. I don't think that they really understand how to do that. I think that they lack that knowledge of how to reinvest into their business, how to build the wealth of their business.
Right.
And I think I think a lot of them are afraid.
Right.
That maybe they may not make it, so they just don't want to take that chance.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. But here's the thing, and a lot of these contracts that come through the county. Now, I'm fond of saying that the county has done a really good job of making sure that they get the lowest cost provider with the highest level of quality that they can get to have as a selected vendor, which basically means you can make payroll, right, with your company by being a vendor for the Miami-Dade County, but you can't consider, you're not going to make 30 or 40% of net revenue. At the end of the day, you can't really use those dollars to grow your business. You have to use those dollars to be able to create efficiencies. But at the end of the day, this is a training ground for you to get ready to go out into the private business sector and ply your trade.
Correct.
Right? So are you seeing a transition of any sort take place through that?
I don't. I see that a lot of businesses, especially if there's a small business in Miami-Dade County, that they use the leverage of the county, and that's where they stay. They don't try to venture out beyond that because they're so focused on, if I have a contract with the county, then I made it. That's all I need. I don't think that they know that there are better opportunities out there besides doing work with the county.
And I think that's where we fall short. And I think, to be honest with you, that's some of the work that we have to do. Now, I know it's kind of like saying, okay, so help me understand what you're saying, Bill. You guys are a county agency, but you're trying to run off your vendor pool to go and get ready to do business in the private sector. I'm going to say yes to that. I'm going to say that the good thing about working with the county and having people to be prepared to become vendors is that we make you get your paperwork straight, right? We make sure that you have your occupational license. We make sure you got your insurance. We make sure that you've got a workforce that can do the work. And so we're good at the administrative side of helping your business. But where we're not that good at is getting you ready to do business in the private sector, because that's really where you can have real growth at, right? I mean, so
correct. That's right.
I got this cold today. I'm fighting it. Sorry about that. But yeah, so how do we do that, Jackie? How do we get those people prepared for that next step?
I think that by us working with all of our community partners, that we can get them to get the skill set that they need to go out into the private sector. I think that potentially they could do both. They could be county vendors and they could work for the private sector, just scale their business to where they potentially are millionaires.
Yeah.
And it's possible, but I don't want to tell them to totally forget about the county, but use the county as a good stepping stone.
See, I think that's it, right? I'll tell you, like I said before when the show first started, we just left Chicago. And what I saw were businesses that understand how to access county relationships, county services, county valued properties, but they are doing business in the private sector. And that's where they're making real money at. And I think that we've got to figure out how to make these businesses make that massive turn toward something like that. All right. So we've got an outreach component to economic development, and we're hosting seminars and workshops. Tell me a little bit about some of those.
Well, recently, prior to my joining MD, LaToya was very good at, she has an AI seminar that she hosted for the community. And I know we're working with other community partners. We're trying to see exactly what our audience really needs so that we can really focus on those industries. So we're really trying to gather a lot of information and see exactly where we want to go at. Right.
Because the thing I like is that before these grants, or you file for the grant and, you put all your paperwork in and you request these $5,000 and $10,000 grants that we're giving out, there's certain seminars that we have, right?
Right.
To help people to understand it. Talk to me about kind of what the makeup of those is. What
are the makeup of those are, so for instance, we partner with Grants for Us. Mm-hmm. So they help the businesses with showing them how to get their paperwork together, what exactly they need to apply, so that they could submit a finished product that's when we get it. Now, fortunately, we did get some great grant applications. So they were listening to the community partners and they were taking advantage of different classes that they had to offer. So we were happy to see that.
Right. And some of them worked.
And some of them were. And it showed the ones that did not take advantage of those opportunities. So.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too, is that, you don't always have to spend money to help to understand how to scale your business. One of the things that I do like about our economic development division is that we give out, and I don't even know if the right word is affordable, free classes around, accounting principles. How you need to be able to become more proficient at using QuickBooks. We have classes in regards to credit counseling. A lot of times people don't realize that that you not only need good credit to run a business, you need business credit to run a business, right? And by the way, there's a big difference, And so I think that one of the things that I liked, I believe it was Andre Coakley that we had hired in the past.
Credit 360, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he came in and he talked about the value of something like that. And
a lot of our grant participants did take advantage of his services.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I like. Because I think that from a long-term perspective, we've got to help organizations to figure out how to access the services. And by the way, you can go to Miami-Dade.gov/MDEAT. And by the way, shout out to Zachary Rinkins for giving us a short URL before, you had to, have a Ouija board and breadcrumbs follow through the Miami-Dade County website just to find out our organization, but you don't anymore.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about grants. Tell me kind of what that looks like for us, and I want to know all of it. So talk to me about our grant process. How does all that work?
Okay, well, we just recently wrapped up the Minority Small Business Grant, which was $10,000 for 10 business owners. So we just recently announced the top 10 based on the score.
Oh.
So we just recently announced those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be coming out shortly. You should get a press release soon.
Okay.
Then we have another grant coming up. We have 2 for Black Business Month.
Okay.
So
Which is in August.
Black Business Month is August. Okay. And we're anticipating that we're going to give out $5,000 grants, and we're going to give out $2,500 for startups.
Okay, all right. So tell me about these $10,000 grants. How did that all come about? Explain to me, what happened.
Well, based on the needs that we saw the needs for the community, we know that these grant dollars are needed for these businesses to help them scale and help them to get where they need to be as far as from a business perspective. So, thanks to our great executive director, he thought that this would be a great opportunity to give out $10,000 to 10 businesses. So we're giving out $100,000. Okay,
all right. So these 10 recipients, what are their industries? What do they do? Give me a description in regards to kind of what it looks like.
We had a variety of different businesses. For instance, well, of course, we had a lot of food vendors.
Food like what? Like food, like
we had
food
some
trucks,
food trucks.
restaurants?
We had restaurants.
Okay. Give me an idea. Who are we talking about?
We have one of our top winners was a food truck that's very popular right now, Popo's.
Okay.
So they were like number 1 on the list.
Okay.
The
name again is
Popo's.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Popo's.
cool.
So Popo's was one of the winners. We also had a chiropractic service down south.
Oh.
So that was really interesting. I was happy to see like a different commodity that came out except for food vendors.
Yeah.
We also had a pet waste company.
All right. So you got to dial this back for me. Explain to me what the heck that is. Right.
Well, the company is called Tidy Pets. I know they're in District 9, and they can clean up pet waste in different communities. So I was very impressed to see the business. I was like, wow, I didn't even know that even existed.
Wow. Well, so there's a need for a company
for pet waste.
Okay. All right.
Right. So.
All right. Okay. So did you review these applications? How does that all work?
Well, the review was done by a committee of 3. We did see the applications, but we don't do the scoring in-house. Just to be fair, a committee does the review, and the committee does not work for Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust. They have no affiliation with us at all. Okay. So an independent committee reviewed the application. It was based on a rubric, so it was on score. It was on the scores, so it's point-based.
Okay. All right. And from what point-based, what does that mean?
So you get points based on the rubric. So the rubrics consisted of if you were in a target urban area, how did you submit your market analysis? Did you communicate with our community partners? Did you attend the workshops that they provided? So it's a variety of different things in the rubrics. And if they followed the rubrics and provided all the documentation, and they were scored based on that submittal.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you said District 9, that's down south. And whose district is that?
That's Keone McGee's district. So,
okay, great.
Yeah.
Good.
So we had a lot. We actually had a lot of winners from District 2.
How many applications did we get through this process?
We had 60 applications.
Okay. Now, when you say 60 applications, are those? I mean, from what I hear, because needless to say, I'm all over the place, right? Completed applications versus non-completed applications. What is that?
We had about 60 that were completed, maybe not in its entirety, but they came through as a packet.
Okay.
And then we had about 10 that were late.
Okay. I mean, so your recommendation would be get it in early, because at a certain point, when we say it cuts off,
it cuts off. If the cutoff time is 12 noon, that's the cutoff time, 12 noon.
Okay.
So anything after that was considered late.
Okay, cool. All right, so you mentioned earlier about other districts. So kind of tell me what the makeup is. I mean, are they 50% hair care, 10% restaurant, 5% some? What would you think?
Probably about 40% food. Hair care, didn't have any hair care recipients. And we had some, like a counseling service, and then we had the spine doctor. So it was a variety of different things, mostly food.
Okay.
We get a lot of food applications from restaurants and food vendors.
Okay. So I know we're going through our own process and trying to track these folk, right? I mean, so since I've been here for the last couple of years, this is like round 3 or 4 with us. What are we doing to see how we've done so far?
Well, right now we're auditing the previous recipients to see where they are and how well did they do with the grant, how was the money spent, and we're actually arranging to do a success story for some of the winners so that we can follow them and see where their business is right now.
Any early indication, any early thoughts around that?
Well, we're actually going to try to work with an influencer, a social media influencer, so we can kind of capture as much footage as we can of the business. So we're kind of nailing it down. Once the audit is complete, who we're going to select and how many businesses.
I'm dying to know about that because I think that, what do they say that, you want to make sure that you've thrown good money after good companies, right? So I'm really interested in understanding kind of what our success rate's going to be. And don't get me wrong, I mean, we, at the end of the day, we can't define anybody's success. We give them this money based on their response to our application process.
Correct.
Right? And then someone sits down and they look at paper and then they say, okay, based on how they responded to the application and what they say they're going to do with it, we believe them, and so you scored higher than somebody else because you've checked all the boxes. Where's the meat, though? Right? What's the secret sauce? How are companies making it?
We really want to follow them so that we can see if they're really making it, and if they're not making it, what can we do to help them get to where they need to be? So that's what LaToya and I are working on.
Okay. All right. So you've been with us for how long now?
A month.
Okay. Has it been a month?
It's almost a month.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a month.
Wow. So tell me, what's your takeaway so far? What do you think?
I think it's great. I really like the idea that I get to potentially follow a business from the beginning to the end. Yeah. So I can see them from the startup while they're going through the process, and I'm here to help them and guide them to get where they can be like extremely successful. Yeah. And I like that idea.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you mentioned a commodity earlier in regards, I guess, how business is lined up from an industry classification perspective. And, we have food. So if half of them are food, are half of those trucks versus brick and mortar? Are they catering business?
A few food trucks, and we have a few restaurants, actually, dine-in facilities. So it's a variety, and I like that. That is, with the potential, I'm hoping that the food trucks who are doing well can potentially be a restaurant.
Yeah. It's interesting as you say that because the thing about money and economic development is that we don't have a Ouija board, but man, I like to figure out how we see into the future a little bit more, right?
Right.
I would love for us to be able to kind of altruistically try to make decisions around where we think the market's going to go, because if we do that, then we can help to make sure that we're prepared for next level stuff. I love to see us to get into this fintech area, right? Now, the biggest thing is we got to find them. And that's part of the reason why we're beginning to scour the country so that we can look like the growth of Miami, because there are certain industries. We all know airport and seaport, right? I mean, those are the two major economic engines that drive Miami. And everything either supports them, works around them, or if you're not, then you want to be, right?
Right.
So tell me a little bit about the growth of economic development. Where do you see us going? What's the thing that you're working on or want to work on that you believe is important for not just Miami-Dade County, but Black Miami-Dade County?
I think for Black Miami-Dade County, I think that we have the food industry. We have that. I think that we need to go after some other industries, tech, maybe some real estate. There are some other industries that we're not dominating in, and if we dominate those industries and we work together, then I think that we have a great Black Miami-Dade County.
Yeah. I believe that too. I do want to make sure that from a long-term perspective that we're getting workforce ready, right? You know, one of the young ladies in our office, Cavell Brown Jennings, she's real excited because her daughter wants to get into commercial real estate. And we've talked about the growth in real estate in our community and how important it is for us to be on the bleeding edge of assisting our community getting ready for that. Yeah. And by the way, the antithesis of that is gentrification, sure. Right? And so the only way that we can slow that down or be the deciding hand in that is to make sure that we get our act together in regards to economic development. So it's not all about grants, right?
No.
It's about taking the businesses that we have and making sure that they are workforce ready. So what's your thoughts around, what's next for economic development?
I think what's next for economic development is that we take these businesses, our Black businesses in Miami, and we show them that you can work here in Miami-Dade County, you have your business here, you can hire the people that live here, and then we can stimulate this economy for us, for our Black community. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I want to take it.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I think that, there are other divisions within our organization that have done a good job, and that is creating the drumbeat. Mm-hmm. Right? Making sure that you have the clarion call, that you're asking for people to become more engaged in regards to what we're doing. I think that's the thing that I'm excited about the growth of our organization. We're beginning to have people to see us, if you will, as a subject matter expert in some areas, right? Now we're the little engine that could, in the sense that you got a $14 million economy. Economic development is all that Miami-Dade is about, and we have a little division. So we have more need than we have resources. We got to make sure that the two match somewhere, which means that we got to figure out how to be, if you will, the organization that calls itself the go-to organization for economic development in Miami-Dade County. As a last thought, as we look at the economy today in Miami-Dade County, as you understand the transitive nature of money, we've got to figure out how to help Black business to get in the real flow of what we do, right? So, any thoughts around the merging of the private industry and the public industry and kind of how we get there?
I think that we'll have to teach our businesses how to bring in more staff, mm-hmm. and they have to really they have to work their industry and get themselves out there to be marketable, mm-hmm. so that the private sector can notice them. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that they have the skill set to do that. And I'm hoping that we can take them there.
Yeah.
That we can get out there and we can really show them that they can do this. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big job. I mean, right? I mean, because in other words, there's how did my father used to say, the thing that you don't ever want to have is more money, more month than you got money, right? But I think in economic development, we've got to find our way to say, we know that we can't bite off more than we can chew. But man, what we bite off, we need to chew, right? Which means we don't need to go wide. I think we need to just go deep. Which means that we need to understand what the industry looks like and how to get there, and that's a big job. It's a big job for you. It's a big job for LaToya. It's a big job for kind of where we're going, because we got a big county. So last thoughts around this. I'm convinced that as an organization, then the key to our success doesn't really lie with Miami-Dade County government practice stuff. Economic development, in my mind, says, let's get out of the way of success by really dedicating ourselves to the growth and expansion of the private enterprise that's there.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Right. So, Jackie, good to see you. Thanks for coming out, spending time with me. I'm excited to know where we're going as an organization. And needless to say, I mean, it's a big deal for you. It's a big deal for us for you to be involved. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Another installation of Black Prosperity in Miami-Dade County. I'm Bill Diggs, your host.